Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Wargame Red Dragon replay cast. Today it is a 1v1 on Plunging Valley between our blue player, AmberT, and on the right side we have our red player, who is I'm Garrus Vicarian, and this is my R, but it's really Razzman, and we're going to speed this on up to the 10x mark. And Razzman, I think, is currently third on the leaderboard, and AmberT, I think in the 20s. I just looked and I just forgot as well. I did a couple things in between looking and casting this. And all the units are ready to go. Moving on out. And an abundance of units coming to Bravo this time around for both players. Is usually both players tend to pretty much ignore Bravo and just sort of take both of the ends. And that is the end of that. And the UAZ here is going to go in the corner of Delta. Meanwhile, some units coming over to the side of Foxtrot here. And no heavy armor, which is slightly unusual. Usually some armor there. I try to get to the ends of your opponent's forest in Foxtrot. And the Jupiter going to be releasing sooner or later here. Losing some points the longer he is waiting to release that Jupiter. And M135s pushing in. Likely Gewehrman. Additional troops as well with the 103B tanks there, tank destroyers. And not much happening just yet. Getting into the center here. I got to bring some recon to the center as well. The Gewehrmen really pushing in there. They have the NM135s, which are a great deal. 20mm cannons, and the MG3 on them is quite good. And now spreading out at the end of Foxtrot as well. And both sides just capturing their respective +2 territories. But it looks like AmberT may have forgotten to unload that Jupiter there. Meanwhile, Razzman is just racking up the points with a +2 and now 48 out of 500 because of that. And now it's going to be Machschützen versus the Gewehrmen. And the BMPs that they came in have a high amount of AP considered compared to, of course, the NM135s, but NM135s really chew up infantry, as you can see, just taking them down very quickly. And the 15-round-a-minute 103Bs are at the edge here, firing very quickly. And the BMP's 12 AP power, the Wilk at 20. And a rocket attack there takes out both of those 103s. It's a very nice rocket plane there, and I think it side-shotted both of them. They were faced possibly the wrong way. No, it's kind of a frontal hit there, but still took him out regardless. And my 24 spies. Some of these NM135s, the 135s also pretty good at taking out choppers too, just not very far range. Usually use those NM135s in my decks that include Gewehrmen, as it would be silly not to, as they're just so great. They only cost 5 more than the regular cheap vehicle that they come in. And looks like Razzman has successfully taken over Bravo here. Just some Gewehrmen and LHV in the back there. It was a very interesting choice of unit, just Laws. And the Krag Jorgensen. And same with the recon troops as well. So some very cheap recon troops and troops in general for AmberT on that side. And now going to be moving down the right flank here. And if you move all the way through the woods, sometimes you can surprise your opponents. Usually, of course, just faster to go across the way. But sometimes I like to send a sneaky few units all the way around. And you can get away with it from time to time, as long as they don't have a recon chopper there. And then we can get to their CV, which is usually parked over here or sometimes there as well. And that CV has been released in alpha. It took a while, gave him 66 total points before he actually released that. So that was a goof for sure. And the Wilk taken out there by the RBS. And an automatic rolling up in there. Good old awesome-matic. And M135 releases before it gets destroyed. So none of those Gewehrmen were really hurt in that. Just shaking a little bit. And now the automatic's gonna GG. These Mott shoots and just a couple shots takes out the entire squad. And good old automatics. Pretty much why you play Scandinavia, other than the Gewehrmen, of course. And I suppose the 103 series tanks as well, but the automatics is just so good. Great against certain tanks. Anything with 12 AP or less, or rather 12 armor or less. And infantry and air, a great all-around sort of vehicle. Block 15 up in the air there, circling around. And a ton of infantry carriers just chilling at the base here to help defend against air. Or rather, not infantry carriers per se, just vehicles. An interesting choice of vehicle to have there. And the automatic taken out there by the rocket plane, but finished off by the Block 15. And you figured you could put some longer range equipment in there, but if a helicopter comes around there, it's really going to get jacked up pretty bad by those 10 cost, 1750 range vehicles, but still an interesting choice regardless. And on either side, really taking anything else. I don't see any CVs coming just yet. On either side, really concerned with that. Just taking that +2 zone right off the bat. But it would be very easy for AmberT to take Bravo and Foxtrot for that matter, as he has a pretty good defensive area in the back there. And just as easy for Razzman to take the backside of Foxtrot. Not so much Bravo. Bravo's a little bit harder. I suppose you could put it back here and hold it just fine for a little while. And I just had a hiccup there as I was talking. That's always a good time. Always good stuff. 40 mil. I'm going to try and take out some of these 85s. I'll be able to pull those back. Probably hold on to that. And the Conqueror's ready to rip. And is it going to get that STRV? Or STRF? And another 103D is on the way to the battlefield as well. The Block 15 flying overhead and looking for some trouble. There's a MiG-2 ML there. But a little bit too far out already. Evacuing by the time it's out there. Now just going to do some happy circles and attempt to get shot by anti-air. And I believe these recently, somewhat recently, had a accuracy increase. The 103 series. Not sure if it was the D or the C. Can't quite remember now. Either way, they had an accuracy increase and are now exceptionally good. 17 AP power, 15 rounds a minute. They just don't have a turret, so the whole tank has to turn. So it's a little bit slow to react sometimes. A little bit easier to side shot it. And now some troops are trying to get into the wood line here, but there's two BMP-1s firing away on them, and it looks like they're having a hard time reloading. Now a Jupiter CV is coming for Bravo there. Going to be putting that in the back, and we'll hold on to that. We'll give him a +1 advantage. We'll start to have to catch up to Razzman there for after losing all of those points of not releasing that CV in alpha. And so he's going to have to start with 0 and work up from the bottom. Similar to that Drake song, but not quite. And now Live Gardens are making their way into the wood line. And Rocket takes out that additional 103 that was moving along there, but gets taken out by the block once again. IQV here going to be firing away on the SU-85. 85 is firing back and half health. And it looks like it might be a little bit outclassed here, and a fairly critical miss on that one. And the tension is strong, and he loses out on that, which wasn't surprising. 2 versus 1. And Jupiter is back in Bravo, but once again, not releasing that Jupiter, just hanging out there. And we'll just zoom in on that. And that is one excellent Jupiter for sure. And could have that +1 advantage right now, but does not, as he's not releasing that. And now we have a CV from Razzman here. He's going to be putting that in the back of Foxtrot. And we'll have his +1. And now it's a +1 for AmberT. But won't last too long here. We'll zero this out once that Ural gets to Foxtrot. And I don't know what it's doing. It's just sort of moving on in a wacky manner. There it goes. And perhaps he's taking that to Alpha, but I'm not sure if that would be the greatest idea. So where this Ural is going, who knows? I think he may be lost in the sauce and needs to go over to Foxtrot and zero the game out. And I'd be surprised if he's taking that to Alpha, as that's a great way to, of course, get ahead in the game, is by neutralizing your opponent's center in Plunging Valley. But going to be hard to do that, as there's really nothing that he can nowhere to put that with the Gewehrman on the edge there, and needs to take those out first, and possibly the Live Garden as well. Otherwise, those would definitely see that CV going across there, and then it would get bombed shortly thereafter. And looks like he's actually taking it all the way over to Bravo, but that was one ass-backwards way of doing that, of sending it all the way over to here to Foxtrot, then sending it over to Bravo. So it looks like he could have just as easily put that into Bravo, or into Foxtrot, and then zeroed the game out, and then bought another one later for Bravo. And Live Garden fires once or twice on that Wilk, unable to totally take it out. So with 3 bars, and I'm going to bring over some supply to repair up that T-72 now. And the Ural will make it to Bravo, and still it's very, very strange that it went all the way over here, then all the way over there to Bravo, when he could have just as easily captured Foxtrot and zeroed it out and not lost any, or rather gave his opponent any points. And BMP-1s with 2 troops inside of them, and not releasing. Going to be releasing in the woods by the looks of it. And here comes the Furung's UAZ to Foxtrot. We'll be able to take that, and no additional CV coming in from AmberT. So as long as he gets that in there, he'll have the +1 advantage. We'll start winning the game once again, although technically he already is. And now Mott shoots in, moving on up. And looks like some NM-135s are moving up with Eric's in them. And now not too much going on. Let's speed this up just a scotch here. And the Mott shoots in, trying to push through the woods. And meanwhile, the NM-135s are coming in with some, by the looks of it, Eric's. And they are making their way up there. The Conquerors fires at the LKV-90, but misses, and it'll make its way out of there and stay alive for the day. And now Live Garden's pushing in, and gonna use that LVKV. Oh my! Talking is hard today. It's just one of the hardest things in the world to do, talking, you know, with the whole words and everything. And mangling those troops there with that 40 mil. Sort of like the little cousin of the automatic. One day it will grow up to be a full-size 76 millimeter. BMP's now double firing on the Live Garden. And looks like the LKVs, they're going to be moving forward and try and take out those BMP ones. And one takes a couple shots, finishes that off. And looks like it's backed up into the woods just enough to get out of the vision of those LKVs. And now going to go after the T-72, but that's just going to back up. And looks like it's going to try and get another shot and finish off that weak one, and it does. And should be able to make it out of there safe and sound. If it stays, it will most likely die. And now the BMP fires again, but gives itself away and gets itself killed. Oh, rather, not quite Eric's in those, but pretty close. They do fire Eric's, so pretty much the same thing. Vigan coming in with some block ASF support. And going to be launching those bombs there. And smacks on the ground. Some AP. Takes out a couple units. But I do believe those were just APCs. Now fiery carcasses. And yeah, they're just BMPs. So not too big of a deal there. And Conqueror's firing from downtown. Takes out a troop carrier. And now 22 M4 and an MP M4P is moving forward. Gonna try and find some seed here. I don't think there's any any. Oh, it did take out the LVKV. Oh my, Scandinavian. And see if we can get this MP there. And can't quite get it. The seed makes its way away for now. Still just a line there, unable to push forward into Foxtrot, so a +1 advantage still for Razzman right now. And looks like Raz trying to push forward a little bit, not really quite necessary, could just take the defensive edge of the woods rather than be pushing in the outside, because he is currently winning, so really all he needs to do is defend for now, and if the CB comes after a while, then can take methods against that and bomb that area. And now that his offensive line is gone, he has no real defense here, just some Mott shoots and the Wilk over there firing as well. I think it would have been better off just staying in the woods for now, waiting for things to get to him rather than trying to stop them out in the open there. Wilk takes a shot to the face there by the RBS. And he moves it back. And it was a pretty wicked hit there. Did 4 or 5 bars of damage. And Bravo, both players not really bothering to push forward at all on there. Not going to while they're pushing troops up, and then coming out that side as it's pretty well defended there. Only LHVs, but either way. And another Win-O-Matic coming on in. So much GG. And with Foxtrot locked down so well, it's going to be very hard for AmberT to actually push him out of there. And right now, it might be best for him to actually try and push into the center and then get a CV right here. Or even up in here to maybe try and juke him out a little bit if he can properly defend this area here and around it. And then taking that +2 away would give him a +1 right off the bat. That would force units over here for a little while, and then he might be able to actually do something over here. Or even in Foxtrot. And then by taking out that UAZ in the back, if possible, maybe even a recon chopper all the way around to spot that, and then possibly a bomb or something to slap that silly and take it out. And he would be on top of the game for sure. That would just give him a +2 right off the bat, give him a +1 just by taking that out, and then a +3 by taking Delta there. I think Foxtrot at the moment is sort of a lost cause. And Live Gardens going against the FJB. Only problem is this MI-24 here just busting them up pretty bad. And not going to last much longer there. And now the LHVs are dead. Not that they're going to last too long. Going across open ground with that Wilk firing on them. Wilk only has actually four rounds left. And a couple M4Ps coming on in. And looking for some trouble. Going to see that automatic. Didn't turn off the radar on the automatic. And the LKV. Gonna fire away. Gonna get off a couple shots. Not gonna take out that M4P though. And only two M4 now moving in. And gonna drop a couple big deucers on the town perhaps. And I'm gonna try and get rid of some of these frontal ATGMs. And does take them all out. No more threat of ATGMs at the moment. The RBS here can just as easily move forward, but a little bit less to deal with now over there. And some more troops are piling up here for what looks like a possible push. And I would think this push needs to come as early as possible here to get Delta, or to at least get inside Delta to hold on to it for a little while and bring in a CV, which would probably promptly get bombed. So long as he has some decent AA in the back there, he could take it out and then just send another one. Because you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. And a 103D moving up. And can start the Wrath here shortly. No stabilizers, so it's going to have to stop first. Which it is not doing. Wanted to get out of the way of the road there, but because of it, took a little too long. Now the Mutt shoots and got a hold of him. And Foxtrot looks just about totally lost here. An LVKV is hanging out there trying to take out some things, but gets hit by the Seed. And now the 103D does not survive at that 25K. And Block trying to go at it, but a nice little juke there by the SU-25K. Block went a little bit too fast, too far. And another M4P over here, but I don't see too much radar here. So there's not really going to find much of anything on that side. And currently 29 for AmberT, 222 for Razzman. And well played by Razzman, winning this game here. And very unfortunate that the CV was not opened up. Not that it would have won him the game in the end, but that CV was sitting around for a little bit too long and gave his opponent 66 points because of that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this replay, and I'll see you guys next time.